Babes over barriers.
Babes over barriers.
Over barriers.
Babes
Such a babe.
over barriers.
Hello, my beautiful babes. Welcome to Babes Over Barriers, where we talk frankly and vulnerably about all things women face as barriers. I'm Cheryl, your host. In today's episode, I reconnect with one of my best friends from elementary school, Kelly Bartram, who is now an amazing actress, model, and creative. And we talk about the intricacies of being a woman in the acting and modeling industry, about how the Harvey Weinstein case affects her life, and so much more. Side note, this was recorded during when most of the US was on lockdown, so we did use a video conference software, so the quality isn't the greatest. So I apologize to your eardrums, but also we're just trying to make the best out of life here. So, and without further ado, let's just jump right in. I have to introduce you. Her name is Kelly Bartram. She is actress, model, creative, who loves loving Tyler, her husband, very publicly. She's a rising star, according to Medium magazine. She started her career as a model in Chicago in various fashion websites, shows, and magazines. Then she moved to Nashville, where she currently lives, where she landed her lead role in movies like faith-based movie Where Is Good and won Best Actress at the Faith Film Festival. She also recently starred in Be Still and Know, a movie following the reconnection of four childhood friends, kind of like us, who've grown apart, and now she stars in a new upcoming miniseries to air soon. So gosh dang, she is on fire, okay? She's accomplished so much. But, okay, however, I know her as one of my best friends in elementary school, way back in elementary school in Peoria, Illinois. We used to actually play pretend, putting on shows by ourselves in our bedrooms. I remember you used to actually write out scripts, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
call me out.
No, that's amazing. I was like, okay, she was meant to be an actress or a producer or something in that realm, because you started so young. And I honestly loved being part of your ensemble, if you will. And honestly, that was one of my fondest memories I have in Peoria, is like hanging out with you and like doing these little plays and shows and stuff. Yeah, and I was only in Peoria like 3 years or so.
Too short.
I know. I miss you so much.
I know.
But yeah, welcome.
Thank you. Oh my gosh, thank you so much for having me. This is so exciting. I'm so happy to be here and so proud of you for starting this. This is amazing.
Oh, you're so sweet. Thank you so much. So like I was saying before, you used to do little plays in your bedrooms with me and other kids our age.
Anyone I could get my hands on, I'm like,
exactly.
Yes, here, play pretend with me.
Yeah, I loved it. Honestly, you also had the best birthday parties, like themed birthday parties.
Yes.
Do you remember that? I don't know if you did that in
gosh.
middle school or and stuff, but
Oh yeah, I did it as long as like it was socially acceptable.
And when is that?
Right. So like last year I may have died down a little bit. No, it's so funny. My mom and I were talking about that. Like, she was like, do you remember doing that? And I was like, obviously, yeah. I was like, I had to have a whole theme. It had to be like this whole presentation. I thought it was so normal.
No, actually, it's so funny. I actually have in one of your invitations that I went to. I still have it.
Oh my gosh,
It was
no
a
way.
Scooby-Doo little thing, and you drew a map to your house.
Love it.
And I had to RSVP.
Yeah, in case you didn't know how to get there.
I think we were like not even a block away.
I know. Yeah. Just walk down the street.
Yeah. So I remember you used to specifically take control of the storyline, and like I said, you would write out the stories, right?
Yeah.
And I specifically remember you wrote out BEAN. Okay.
Oh my gosh, this is so crazy. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm going with?
Yeah.
So you wanted to say bin, BEEN, but you really liked the way Southern people said bean, and you specifically wrote out BEAN.
Oh
and I was like, oh, That's how she rolls. Okay.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you know what's so funny about that though is like that word has such a bigger meaning. Because like growing up, my mom and dad would call me like Kelly Bean, like
Yeah,
jelly
I
bean.
remember.
And so like before, and then it got shortened to just like Bean.
Yeah.
And now it's just like my nickname. And I've always been like, oh, if I ever
Oh,
started a company, it'd be like K Bean or like Bean or something.
that's cute. I would.
Yeah.
Yes, I could totally see that.
It
Oh
sounded
my
a lot
gosh.
cuter when I was younger, but
No, it still sounds cute. I don't know.
thank you.
There's
Yeah.
LL Bean. There's still
I know.
around.
See, they kind of stole my thunder there.
um, okay. Let's see. How about you introduce yourself? I know I gave you your introduction, but how else would you describe yourself? Who are you?
Oh, that's deep. That's a big
Mm.
question. Honestly, just a girl trying to still play pretend now that I'm an adult, really. It's so crazy, you know, like I feel like when we're kids, we have these things that we just kind of do naturally. And then we get older and we're like trying to figure out what we are supposed to do. And I feel like I just never could get away from that. And, you know, went to college, did the whole thing, and still just kind of kept going back to acting and playing pretend. And so that's just kind of what I'm out here trying to do, really.
That's awesome. So then what is your actual job title right now, if you will?
Well, right now it's just staying at home watching Netflix and Tiger King. So basically, I guess actress model. I also will like kind of just resell clothing on the side or do whatever little
Okay.
like kind of thing. Yeah. So I don't really have like a typical job I go to with a pretty fancy job title, but you know, hopefully
Okay.
someday I could add director, producer underneath there as well.
Did you I thought I saw a photo of you behind the desk. Um yeah.
Yeah. So I helped with a lot of the production and casting, and even like a little bit of the makeup department on a short film we did here in Nashville. So that was my first step of kind of getting my feet wet in that, which was a
Ah,
really amazing experience to kind of be on the opposite side. And I almost feel like it kind of helps me as an actor to see like, oh wow, like this is kind of the expectations that we're
yeah.
seeing now. So it's really fun.
Yeah, totally. I get it because I used to be a TV reporter and I would report the
Yeah,
things, and then now I'm a producer and like getting to see the back end of things. It really just makes sense to know how everything works because it's like an ecosystem
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And I
production.
almost feel like a lot of the directors I've worked with, if they were actors before, they just really know how to connect. And I'm like, if I were to direct someday, I really hope I can bring that experience, because I'm like, you understand more like kind of what they're going through just being on all sides of it. So yeah,
Cool.
it's really, really great.
Yay. And do you still have puppies around? I remember you had all the like
Oh my
dogs
gosh.
around.
Yes. You know, it's so funny. It took me forever to finally get a dog just because like being so busy, I'm like, you know, I have to like baby it and have, you know, its own little
Yeah, yeah,
closet
yeah.
and whatever. But we finally got a dog about like 6 months ago, Penny.
Oh, only
So
6 months
yeah,
ago?
yeah, brand new.
Oh.
Yeah.
Um, have you just been doing like just playing with
Her, yeah. So
her for, yeah.
we adopted her, and she was like the near perfect dog, but she had some sort of, you know, separation anxiety and all of that.
Mhm.
So it's crazy. Like this is such a horrible comparison, but I was almost like, it's like I'm like had a newborn, you know, right now, even though she's like 2 years old. But honestly, like she's amazing. You know, people that have dogs can talk about their own dog
Oh
forever,
yeah.
but
Oh yeah.
but
Totally.
yeah, it's just been like fun, like training her and like seeing her blossom and all of that. So
Oh.
it's fun having a little dog around.
And especially with the coronavirus going on where we have to stay home, I'm sure it's a lot of
Yes.
fun.
Oh yeah. Yeah. She's my buddy.
Aw. And is your husband also living with you? Are you guys living together? Is
Yep.
that
Yeah. We have an apartment here in Nashville. We're kind of starting to look for homes and see if we want to where we want to live and all
ooh.
of that, which is exciting.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's currently working from home in the other room right now.
Gotcha. We gotta
Yeah.
get him over sometime.
I know, right?
I love that. Okay, so then, what is it like being a woman in your industry as an actress or model?
Yeah. So I actually feel really fortunate that we're in the time we are in right now as women. It has evolved so much, and there's women who are now directing, producing, and writing, and they have more positions of power. And just more diverse roles for women. Like I remember it was probably middle school when I was like, yeah, like I definitely want to be an actress. And I was like, oh, if I don't make it by the time I'm 18, my career's over. And
I have the same thing too. Yes.
yes. And then 18 rolls around, you're like, okay, maybe 25, and you keep pushing it.
I remember,
yeah,
I remember when I was 20, I was like, my life is over. I'm done. I can't do it.
Yep, the whole quarter life crisis. Oh yeah. I'm like, I've peaked. This is it. My life is over.
Now we're here.
Yes. But
Yeah.
no, it's crazy. Like I feel like with acting, especially, you know, you have like the leading lady roles, and then a year goes by and you're now the mom roles, or that's typically how it used to be. And now we're just seeing so many more roles available and more ages and more diversity, and it's really exciting. And you know, I'm like, yeah, I want to be the superhero. You know, I want to have like that cool action movie story, you know, and kind of just have more substance. So it is really exciting to kind of be in the forefront of that.
That's awesome. That's kind of why I wanted to talk about this. Just this whole podcast, the whole idea behind it is because of these, not just stigmas, but just like how we treat women as a society in all the little pockets of society. And acting and modeling is such a, one, it's so public, and two, it's very well known to be, I don't know about well known, infamous for objectifying women. So I'm interested to see what your kind of experience has been from when you're just starting out to kind of where you are now. You know, have you felt like you couldn't get into a certain aspect of acting or whatever because you were a woman?
Absolutely. Especially starting out, you know, we come in here, you know, our eyes are this big and we're just so eager. And, you know, this is a career that's, you know, very difficult to get into for the most part, or to get to a certain level of success. So you kind of are just like, oh, yes, I'm going to do, you know, whatever they say, the people in power. And, you know, I remember when I was young, you know, director or photographer says to do this or that, and it might make you feel uncomfortable or you question it, but you do it anyway. And now that I've kind of been there, and there's more women, especially too, because it's just different, you know, when they're in that position. It's just a whole different dynamic. I feel like I have now more confidence to say no, which is something I feel like a lot of people, and women especially, feel really hard saying, or they feel like they aren't allowed to say no, or that's not their place. Like, who am I to say no? You know, I'm just the actor here. But now that I'm older, I feel like, okay, no, like that's, my self-respect is more important than, you know, this project maybe, or whatever.
That's a great place to be in mindset wise. Have there been any times where like a situation that either somebody else put you in or you put yourself in where you felt like you needed to, like you really needed to cry or like step away from it like immediately?
Oh yeah. I think more so in photography or modeling. It was like two male photographers and I was like model. It was for, I don't even remember what it was for, but I could tell it was going in a different direction than what I had thought. And, you know, what I always tell, you know, younger girls who are starting out in modeling, I'm like, you have to be so careful. You know, I don't care what their credentials are behind them, you know, bring someone with you, know where you're going, tell people where you are. And I just remember feeling like, oh no, like what could happen? Where am I? And you just, you know, thankfully nothing happened. You know, I was at a point at that where I was kind of starting to get my confidence and I was like, no, I'm leaving. This isn't worth it. But yeah, it's definitely, it can be a scary place. And I know it's for any field really too, that can happen. Yeah. But especially I think for something where it's, there's no HR department, you know, when you're
That's
modeling
true.
or anything like that. So you're kind of left to your own.
How is that being by yourself all the time? I mean, not all the time, obviously. Sometimes
Right.
you don't have this, like, for me, I would have my same team for years on end, whereas you
Right.
are always switching things up and not
Yeah.
knowing who you're going to work with in the next project or what have you. Is that scary for you? Just like
A
not
little
even your
bit.
management being so far away.
Yeah. Oh yeah, a little bit. You kind of always feel like the new kid, or you know, like the first day of school. It's a little different, I feel like, on set because there's so many people. And it's honestly a great experience towards the end because, you know, you start out, everyone's brand new. It's like the first day of school, and then you're with each other every single day for, you know, a month or however long. and you're best friends by the end of it, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully.
Or you want to like pull your hair out. No.
That means it's a terrible show. No?
Right now. Won't say what. No, I'm just kidding.
So recently, I'm sure you've heard, I think everybody's heard at this point, about the Harvey Weinstein case.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously that has to do with the acting industry and women in the acting industry and big
stars in that too.
That too, big stars
Yeah.
and these big head of companies. Obviously, in this case, Harvey Weinstein, who took advantage of women for so long and got away with it. And now it's come to light and he's sentenced to some kind of jail time. And, you know, has that impacted you personally, mentally in any way? And then also in career-wise, like, has that affected you in any way?
Yeah, I think it was almost the reason I mentioned the big stars is, you know, sometimes you hear these things and you know it's happening. If not personally, you know it and you've seen it. And just to kind of hear like these women who are in these much bigger positions of power than we are to kind of speak out on it was almost comforting in a way to know like, oh, wow, like we aren't alone. This does happen. This has happened. It, of course, extremely sad at the same time. But it was almost like, wow, like we're doing something about it now. The whole world is kind of seeing that this is something that's been happening forever, since the beginning of time, really. And I think it's a really important time to just kind of pay more attention to that. I know recently, one of my classes we were talking about, there's now going to hopefully be more designated people on set to kind of be there that you could go to as sort of like your right-hand man to be like, hey, I'm uncomfortable. Let's not do this. And then they're the middleman to go and talk to producer, director, or whoever. And I think that's a fantastic first step to kind of having someone you can trust who you aren't afraid to speak up to. Yeah. So that's, you know, we're starting to see more things like that come into play.
That is so cool. It's like an immediate effect almost. And sometimes it's hard to see.
Yeah.
That's very cool. Okay. Yeah. I know you are married. How long have you been married now?
Oh gosh. Let's 3 years, I think. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I know. We'll go places. And we're like, yeah, we're newlyweds. And I'm like, oh wait, are we still?
That's cute. That's when you know. Oh my gosh. I'm still single over here.
Hey, it's all good. You're doing your thing.
But so I bring that up because I feel like, at least from what I hear, are a lot of actresses, female actresses, try not to get married or have any kind of relationship to get further in their career. And you obviously didn't do that. You met the love of your life and you married him.
Yeah.
What was the thought process behind that, with your career versus love life? And yeah,
that's actually a topic that we kind of, my husband and I, or my friends and I, talk about a lot. And my first reaction, oh crap, do I have to pick one? Which that's one thing though, is I never wanted to have to choose between, you know, marriage or career. I was like, why can't I have both? And there are some instances where I do feel like, that I do feel like I have to be conscious and respectful of him and his feelings. But at the same time, my career is what I've wanted since I was born, basically. This is my dream. And I don't want to give that up, you know? And so there are times where we have to kind of sit down and be like, is this okay? Do I continue down this? But ultimately he supports me. And that's, you know, I couldn't be married to someone who didn't, and who, you know, forced me to kind of make a decision. And I can definitely see how a lot of women want to just go for their career, and that's amazing. And I love that. But in my case, it just kind of was like, oh, I found him early. So, you know, I guess we got lucky in that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Like for me, I would say that if I were, so I actually at one point was thinking about a career in acting, and I'm one of those people who gets super, like, I want to overcompensate for being a woman in any industry really, but especially in acting, just because I feel so little, and as a woman, I feel like you don't have much power, and that's part of the reason why I didn't really go for it. But where was I going with this? I would be too headstrong. There's a lot of girls who are super strong and try to embody that independent woman, I'm single and blah, 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 and I can do my career.
Oh, yeah.
And then
Yeah.
there's you who like embraces the girliness. I don't know, a womanhood.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I love that. That's part of like my own, what's it called? Like, epiphanies, if you will, that I have in life is like, oh, I can actually still be a woman and still go for the careers. And I one of the reasons why I wanted to interview you is because I felt like, at least from where I was standing from, way far away from you, sifting through Instagram, right?
Yeah.
That, okay, there's this girl who's going at her career, doing her passion, like going after her career, and still, one, has a husband, and two, just so strong. I know for a fact that you work hard, and you know, I'm in awe of you, really.
That is one of the nicest things. Thank you.
Of course. And I'm so happy that we get to reconnect in this way too. So,
me too.
I know.
But yeah, no, that's an interesting point, you know, that it's so, that's something I think every woman goes through is, do we have to make that decision? And, you know, it's something you do have to work at. I'm not going to lie. You know, it's not easy. There have been projects where I've had to consider turning them down, you know, if it wasn't going to align with, you know, what we felt was right or fair to each other. But at the same time, you know, there's also a sacrifice when it comes to being married and doing this. You know, there's time away. There's, you know, a certain level of intimacy that you get with your coworkers that you don't get with normal jobs. And that can, of course, like, you know, affect a marriage or a relationship. So it's something that you definitely have to work at. But I think if it's something you're in love and you also love your career, it's something you can make happen. And I'm really happy that you see that. It seems, you know, it's something you picked out. So
yeah. And you emote such a strong person, like emote such a strong person. That doesn't make sense.
I felt it though. I got it.
Thank you. Okay. Have you ever felt disadvantaged in any way compared to your, I guess, male counterparts versus, or even just other females who, I don't know, have
all the
gone
time
for other, yeah?
Oh, all the time. Even the last project I was on, I remember, you know, just going through a normal day on set and I was like, oh my gosh, they're amazing. Like, what am I doing here? How did I get hired? You know, I think that all the time. It's the whole, you know, imposter syndrome. And I'm almost kind of like, are you sure you emailed the right person to get this job? And it's kind of, you just have to sit down and be like, okay, hopefully I got it, you know, because they did, you know, like what I presented. But I think it's just really with anything, you have those doubts and you get insecure. And oh my gosh, like especially on social media, you know, just scrolling through and you see what everyone else is doing, or you just see like who your other co-star is and like, okay, like they're beautiful, they're really talented. Like, I'm just gonna do my thing over here.
All you can do is just do your best, you know, and if they like you, they like you.
Yeah. And, you know, I guess the more I do it, the more I'm like, hey, yeah, this is me, you know, hopefully that's what you want. If not, I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah. I mean, and you took the job, they gave you the job, it's all good.
Yeah.
This is an interesting one. So what do you think about the actual term, right? Actor versus actress. This always kind of, yeah.
Yeah, you know, I honestly never really minded either way. You know, I think now it's becoming more prevalent to just say actor when in regards to everyone.
Do you think that's just like a shift in society,
I think so. Yeah, I think it's to bring a level of equality towards everyone. Like, we don't have to distinguish between one or the other. But at the same time, you know, there are differences, you know, obviously between a male or a female actor, or however you want to say it. So I think, you know, it is good, the whole general idea of it, but at the same time, you know, I don't mind one or the other.
Yeah, sounds good. Let's go. So take me through a day in the life of Kelly Bartram. What is it like?
Recently, or
when you were kind of busier?
Yeah. It's like, not much right now. Well, you know, no day is ever really the same. And this industry, it ebbs and flows like crazy. I swear every few months I'm like, this is it. I'm done. I have no work for the next few weeks. And you have that little mini meltdown, but then, even with what's going on right now, it's almost a nice reset when you're not busy. It's a time I'm like, okay, I can finish painting that table I started, or take that online class, or, kind of do some self-care and get back into it. And then when I am busy, I mean, gosh, it just really depends on what's going on. It's either, being in a meeting or doing a shoot, or, reading a script. And if I'm on set, it's doing that. But yeah, other than that, it's just kind of me being like, well, I guess this is it. Especially right now.
Just sitting at home in your PJs, talking
Yeah.
with the dog.
2:00, and you're like, all right, I should probably put my day pajamas on.
I like that. Day pajamas. So as an actress, you obviously, the whole physical aspect is a huge part of your job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Has that ever been stressful to you?
Oh, yes. Every day, really, you kind of go through that. And actually, like a few years ago, I went through a period of having just kind of different health issues, which kind of manifested into breaking out on my skin or this and that. And that took a huge shot to my confidence. It made me feel like I couldn't go out to auditions or do photo shoots. Yeah. Oh yeah. But yeah, and it's crazy. You don't even think about, if I just had a regular job and I got a pimple, I'd be like, oh, whatever, stick a little patch on it, good to go. And then it's like, and at that time I was like, it's the end of the world, or if you don't always feel like you have to keep on top of your physical appearance. And it can be a pain in the butt sometimes, and it can be a little unfair depending on how you think about it. But at the same time, it's like, if there is that shoot or project that comes up, I want to make sure, even vanity aside, that I'm in great physical condition to, handle it. Like the last job I did had some sort of level of athleticism to it. And I'm glad I was at the point where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm not totally out of breath at the end of this.
I actually, because I'm a stalker and I just like to stalk you, okay? You have gone through a health change. No?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. So, there he is.
Oh, I know. I was like, how
bring him in. Right. So, yeah, I've seen you go through like I remember you posting like your meal for the day, or like your little exercises while you were moving to your new place, like little on little boxes and stuff. How did you, is it more of like a job thing, or is it your health thing? I'm sure you feel better just.
Oh yeah. And it sort of manifested through vanity, really. In order to keep up with my competition, I was like, okay, well, I can't eat that whole bag of peanut butter pretzels. I should, try to focus on, eating something better. Yeah. Oh man, don't give me a bag of peanut butter pretzels. They'll be gone. But on top of that, like I said, my health was going through a weird time. And once I started doing those things, I not only felt like I looked better, but I did feel better. I felt stronger. I had more energy to do all the things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So, it may have started because I wanted to look better in my bikini photos, but it ended up really being something that I became very passionate about, and still am, just to, get my overall health into the optimal, condition.
That's awesome. Do you do a lot of bikini shoots?
No. Especially not right now. I'm like, well, you do not want to see that right now.
That's the new cool. That's the new beautiful.
That is, yeah. Yeah. Show off the stretch marks I have. Yeah, they're there.
Cool. Let's see. Anything that you feel like is a big barrier in your life right now, like just very recently, something that's your I kind of want to ask this for all of my interviewees. It's just like, right now, currently, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Like, what struggles are you going through right now?
Ooh. I think finding roles I'm passionate about that I feel like could take me to the next level, if that makes sense.
career-driven girl. Woohoo.
Yeah, I know. That's always, or really even just, here's maybe a better one, is getting the confidence and the willpower to kind of create my own piece. That's always been, now I'm saying it, so it's going to be recorded. But my goal has always been to, write, direct, produce, star in my own project, no matter how big or small, just to actually do it and sit down and do the darn thing, really. So I think a level of confidence and insecurity and is kind of coming and weaving its way through there, but just more the barrier of kind of how to get it to the right people, how to get into that position. But actually, now we're even at a point where it's a lot easier to kind of, or more accessible to kind of create our own work. So
yeah, that's why I'm here doing my podcast.
Right. Yeah, and exactly. And I think that's a wonderful thing. We are really in a really kind of weird but amazing time, I feel like. On the forefront of a lot of, things coming.
Especially for creative people.
Oh yeah.
So good. What I tell people is like, if you're ever like feeling stuck somewhere, is that like, when you think back to simpler times, what did you enjoy most? And for you, it was playing with people like me and writing those scripts.
Yes. We're doing it now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I still can't get over like just playing with you all the time, and literally that's all I think of when I think of Peoria.
I love that. No, I feel like this is so full circle, and this makes me, when you reach out, I was like, makes me so happy. I love this so much. I'm so proud of you and like what you're doing. And
thank you. Oh my gosh. So cool.
Yeah.
So for other babes out there, if you will, and other ladies, if there's anything that you would, whether it be if they are following a career in acting, or even just as a girl living in this world, is there any advice that you'd like to give them? Maybe your younger self.
Yeah. I would say truly believing in yourself, and you can have outside opinions come in and out, and you can take them with a grain of salt, but ultimately staying true to yourself, believing in yourself, having that confidence to go after whatever it is in life that you want, whether it's career or whatever, and just kind of trying to develop that sense of self from a young age, because I know it's very difficult to do that, especially when you're young. You aren't sure what you want, but to just kind of have that sense of following, your inner passions, like you said, of what you felt at peace at, or what you loved when you were a child, is really great.
That's awesome. So what would you like to be known for at the end of the day, at the end of it all?
Yeah. I think, and I've kind of thought about this on and off, but I would love to, be known for kind of creating a piece of work of art, however that manifests itself, that kind of lets people know they aren't alone, or kind of sends a deep message to someone of knowing, like, I think about in this time that we're in right now, with coronavirus and everything, people really turn to art to kind of get them through a time like this. It's not something that's just, we kind of listen or watch it when we want to. It's not a necessity, but I kind of feel like it is. People connect with movies, and they, you draw emotions from music, and I really want something out there that can like bring people together, make them feel like they're not alone, and like send just a powerful message that like, hey, we've got this.
Love that. Awesome. Thanks. All right, that's kind of it for what I have, but is there anything that you wanted to bring up in terms of just any like obstacles in life where, I don't know, anything that you wanted to bring up? Backup?
Yeah. No, I think that was just basically kind of like full circle of where we kind of started, of just like, believe in yourself. It sounds so cliche. Yeah. I'm like, can I think of something better to say? But no, it's so true, and I feel like the older I get, like you kind of go back to some of these cliche sayings and you understand them on a deeper level. Have you ever noticed that?
Absolutely. Actually, I think even yesterday, actually, I had the same like full circle. I forget what it was, honestly. That's the things that you just kind of like learn. And You keep living life and you like let things pass through you and then you become awakened.
Yeah, totally. Yep. No, it's so funny. You'll hear something over and over and over, and then all of a sudden it just clicks one day, and you're like, wow, like what happened differently in my brain that made that click? But yeah.
So good. Okay, cool. In that case, where can people find you and anything going on in your life that you want to promote?
Yeah, so just finished up wrapping The Dark, which I know you talked about a little bit. That is going through a weird, I've got to be totally honest, I'm unsure of how the post-production is right now with everything going on. But I do know it'll be available to stream hopefully within, the 2020 year. But I'll be posting about it on Instagram or Facebook at Kelly Bartram if anyone wants to watch it. Yeah.
Self-plugs always.
Right.
Hey, thanks for tuning in. If you like this episode, make sure to follow or subscribe to this podcast wherever you get your podcast. If you have any questions or have any topics that you'd like for me to tackle or have someone you'd like to nominate to be on the podcast, either comment in one of the podcast's recent posts on Instagram at babesoverbarriers or email me at babesoverbarriers@gmail.com. That's BABESOVERBARRIERS@gmail.com. Also, don't forget that you're a frickin' babe, so go conquer this world and set the world on fire.